I thought we confirmed that they were siblings. Guess that was a lie. I guess I was lied to there. Mahalo and welcome back to UNL Precure episode 12. Coming to you a little bit late, but don't worry, we will back on schedule for the next episode. But nonetheless, let's talk about our Metadon episode. First and foremost, we have Tanaka actually acknowledging the tree. He's like, I don't understand why it's still blooming. Is this connected to the Precure? But also later mentions that this is like a well-known tree in the area that the town is famous for. So like, I don't necessarily know what's up with this tree. If it's a tree that we're used to, and we know that it bizarrely blooms, like, I don't think it's necessarily connected to the Precure. I think it's just a tree that's a little funky monkey. It also is explained to be this like domain that allows people from Kirakira Land to come over to the regular schmegular Earth. Like, we're acting like this is pretty normal. I'm not quite sure why, like, what's up with this tree? Because he just starts the episode being like, I don't know what's up with this tree, and then he's like, I know exactly what's up with this tree. Inconsistencies got me confused. Next thing to address, this dog. Is this not the dog from last season? Like, the small dog that, like, the first episode it shows up, they're doing, like, surgery or something with it? Is this not the dog from last season? Maybe I'm blind. Maybe I'm crazy. This feels like the dog from last season. Anyways, we end up finding the Imo, otherwise known as Momo, otherwise known as the word in Japanese for peach, which is why it's a peach, it's a pun. This little device is where the fairies come from when they're transported from Kirakiland to here. Like, we get this whole backstory of how, like, they kind of, like, pop in here, and that's how they, like, transport to this world. So at least we got, like, some kind of clarification on this. This is just one of those things in a series where they gotta come up with something, and they went a little crazy with how their explanation works, and they're like, oh yeah, they just bloom into existence in these little peach blossom thing. I hate it. I hate it when they do that in the series. I'm just like, just be like they flew through a portal, but whatever. It is what it is. In the meantime, we have to figure out why there's a second one. Obviously, Putun came in the first one, but now there's a second one, which means someone came over. But as Tanaka pointed out, everybody's a little crystallized at the moment. They're a little incapacitated, so we've got to figure out who this could be, and why is it Metadon? Now, this is where the story kind of loses me. I'm kind of confused, because you have Tanaka, who doesn't know that Metadon exists, which is interesting, because he knows that Putun exists, but has no knowledge of Metadon, conveniently. Putun explains that both she and Metadon survived, and at least give us this half-baked explanation that Putun ended up being the older one, so received magic in order to travel through the portal. The last of Picurine's magic, specifically, in order to travel through the portal, but it wasn't enough to get Metadon across, so Metadon stayed here. At least it wasn't like one of those things where it's like, Metadon, you're too young and you stay behind. It's just that Putun was older and more convenient, so that's why she went. And I gotta give it to this scene, the music's really good. The music is very emotional. Like, I think one of the things that I'm low-key picky about that I always forget when I start doing a review is I'm very picky about background music and stuff like that. I really hate when shows are like, and then it was just silent, because I'm like, the silent is so loud. Luckily, Precure seasons, like, basically never do that. They always have a really good backtrack. At least something's there. But the emotional, like, drama music going on in this sequence is very nice. Like, there's several little happy moments in this episode where I didn't expect it to be as good as it was, but it was. And Putun also, like, looks mature. I guess this is one of those things where you gotta stick somebody who's younger next to Putun, because Putun 90% of the time is a little chaos demon. And sticking her next to Metadon, you're like, oh, she's actually kind of responsible. She kind of, you know, is stepping up a little bit. Goes to show you just need to have some kind of foil character and it changes your whole perception. Nonetheless, Putun immediately deduces all of, like, what we went through and realizes it's Metadon who's probably here, and we're like, we gotta go find Metadon! And, you know, I think that's oddly the most efficient we've been the whole season. Like, this is the most, like, point A to point B mentally for Putun that we've had this whole show. And it's, like, on point. Like, pop off. And, of course, we have what we have with a lot of fairy seasons, where we go through this little hijinks of trying to find the fairy. They did the same thing in Heartcatch it off the top of my head with Pulpity. Now we're doing a little Metadon bit. And, ironically enough, the reason why I bring up the Popody one is it plays very similarly. Outside of the fact that Popody was running away, we just have Metadon trying to run into Putun. She gets lost, and eventually gets found by some random kid. Just like Popody. We like to revisit that. I also want to take this time to appreciate Metadon's design. Like, I typically am kind of meh on fairy designs. I feel like I'm picky. I feel like I'm a little picky when it comes to fairy designs. Metadon has a really cute design. Like, the more I saw her move around in this episode, and I really think it's like her little twisty ear things with them, like one of like the black strip with like kind of the pink. There's something about it. It's very pleasing. She has a very nice design. I'm like, now this is a cute fairy. This is low-key making me want to buy the toy. I'm like, that's how they get you. That's how they get you in the end. But I'm getting got. Not gonna lie. We also get the Metadon backstory, which now I'm back in confusion land because they go through the part where they're like, are you Metadon? And we get this back story of, I guess, the two of them meeting or something along those lines, which is where immediately I was like, I thought they were siblings. Like, at this point in the episode, I was like, I thought we confirmed that they were siblings. Guess that was a lie. I guess I was lied to there. This is why I always hesitate. And as I hesitated in the last video where I was like, I think they're siblings. No, their whole interaction is giving first meeting. Where Putun like, oh, you're reading? Oh, but you look lonely. Let's be friends. And then does this little cute thing where she fixes up Metadon's hair. Where I'm like, this is giving the vibes of like, extrovert finds introvert and adopts. That's what this is giving. I shan't be gaslit once more. But anyways, our villains. So this is the first time so far in the season, and I gotta give it to them. We got to episode 12 before, like, our villains genuinely have some level of panic going on. Because before they were like, business is business. We'll get to it when we get to it. But no, we're, like, actually concerned about succeeding. Some of the fear of being a villain has now entered the chat. And we got Rita Repulsa coming in here. Dark Ine shows up and is like, you guys can fail all you want, I'll know. I've got that all-seeing eyes, plural, going on. But don't worry, I'm going to promote your magic, which is very interesting that they're getting their magic, like, buffed now. I guess it makes sense because they have to keep coming up with an excuse for them to use trio dreams, and they don't want to have to edit all three of them fighting. But usually you have the power-up-y thing happen before you get your, like, power-up, and then you have to use the power-up moving forward. But I guess they just kind of, like, handled this a little bit differently. But at first I was worried it was going to make Trio Dreams, like, not strong enough to take them out. But we upgrade our crystals from crystals to dodecahedrons. Shout out to our math shapes. And then our, like, side girl, who is, like, I forgot to mention. She's meant to mirror Metadon, who's upset about not being able to find Putun, and she's upset because she can't find her mother. But then she just, like, walks into the scene and her mom's there, so, like, compared to the Popody episode back in Heartcatch, this one is kind of, like, the problem solved itself and wasn't a big deal, and this kid wasn't as important. Which felt a little like, I thought the kid was gonna be more relevant. I thought the kid might be our little monster of the week, just with the way it was building up and how important she was, but she's just a kid who needed her mom, and then her mom showed up. And we all moved on. It's very... like, it just felt a little bit more utilitarian than necessarily good writing. But it doesn't matter. We had to connect the way we found Metadon, who has since gotten stuck in a tree. This is, like, a funny little bit here, because, like, I always wonder when you have all these fairies that all levitate. Like, what's the limitation of your levitating? Can't you, like, just fly up to the moon if you felt like it? Like, they don't really ever try to make that have too much logic behind it. Like, we can see that Putun can go very far, a solid, like, 4 feet off the ground. But it does look like the higher upwards Putun attempts to go, the more gravity actually affects her. So, that's some fairy logic there. That's some interesting, like, fairy lore we've never really tapped that much into in terms of their floating powers, so I thought that was kind of fun. Which is why the bit that happens, it got a chuckle out of me. The two of them end up falling out of the tree, and the girls are like, we gotta catch them! And they're like, tee-hee, we can float! Because we're fairies, and of course we can levitate. We've always been able to levitate. It's a good joke! I thought it was a good bit. It's pretty funny, I liked it. Back to fleshing out more Metadon lore. We do ask the question, are you Putudun's sister? To which she just gives us a blunt no. So they're not siblings. It is what I thought initially, where it's just like she got very attached to Putun and just started calling her like the nicknamey version of a sister, which is just like a cultural thing in Japan that they do. I was like, so they aren't related. I was a little annoyed about that. But also that Metadon reveals that because she feels like, you know, the introvert adopted by an extrovert, she's very attached to Putun. So she's Putidun's #1 fan, which is great because, you know, a couple episodes back, Putidun needed a fan. And now she has one. And now she's like, I'm so much of a fan that you guys are not fan enough. And you're now my rivals. And it's a whole showdown throwdown. It's intense. I think this is where people are going to lose Metadon. I know that a lot of people typically don't like characters in this kind of basket of just being a little, like, rude to the main character. And normally I would agree with you. I'm not a big Milky Rose or Cure Ace fan, but she does do something that I enjoy, which is why I like Cure Nyami, who kind of starts to fall into that category. I like that she cares about somebody else. She isn't sitting there saying, I'm better than anybody else. She's saying that Putidun is better than someone else. And whenever it's like that level of removal, where you're doing it on behalf of somebody else and not yourself, I find it tolerable. I don't really hate it. I also think it's a lot nicer than it used to be. Like, there's always a level of tsundere that's kind of shoved in there. Her genuinely liking and respecting the girls is just her being, like, a tsundere about it, more so than, like, her genuinely being like, you guys suck, and I dislike you. We don't have that here. It's not like the older iterations, which is appreciated. And then our victim of the week just is a guy who ended up to, like, win the vending machine gacha of all things. You know, I guess this guy's way too excited. This guy's got way too much. I'm like, this is the weirdest thing. This is the weirdest one thus far of, like, ugly inspiration. Like, man was really happy he won his drink. That he managed to make himself an ideal victim. That's crazy. That's insane. I can't tell if that's just goofy, silly writing, or if that's just really funny. I'm stuck there. I don't have a lot of screenshots, but I will put a couple of clips in here. The battle is delectable. It's such a phenomenal battle. Like, the animation is very good. I did not expect it to go so hard. Like, I thought they were going to do better animation last episode, since that was, like, leading into the mid-season attack. But nah, the people who were working at Toei said that the Metadon episode is the most important episode. The animation here is just surprisingly good. And the way that the music was really good at the top of the episode, the animation for the fight scenes are just good. They're really solid just all across the board. There's several good moves. And then we have this, like, really heartwarming moment where we're trying to, you know, get Idol to bond with Metadon, where she rescues them and, like, you know, takes the hit. And despite Metadon being like, I can't tell her that I'm super appreciative, I'm also looking at her like she's the sun. Like, my girl looks so nice and endearing and just, like, putting up a brave front despite being, like, going through it. Just, it's very cute. It's very well done. I honestly was kind of blown away at this battle. Coming in here with low expectations. Great to walk out with just something nice. I also think we finally have better usage of the shield. After, like, the horrific moments we had with that shield last episode. I think the idea of keeping the monster from being able to shoot out any more projectiles because you essentially stuck a sticker on its face is super clever. And then allowing that to be an opening for Idol to attack is clever. Like, this is the way we use our shields. I give it to them for being more creative with shields than we normally are. This is kind of nice. This is getting into, like, Cure Butterfly level usage, and I appreciate that. And then after our battle has wrapped up, we go back home, and Metadon requests that Putidun does her hair, as that's what she remembers her from. Though, it looks bad, which is weird, because, like, the whole part of their meeting together was that Putidun fixed her braid spinny rigmarole thingy. But no, Putidun kind of sucks at doing hair, which isn't too surprising given her track record with her own. However, we do have Idol fix her hair, which again, this is one of those, like, tiny moments that makes me appreciative, is that, like, not that this season has struggles with this in any stretch of the imagination, but Uta is good at things. Like, that's the one thing I don't really love about a lot of seasons of Precure, is that the main character's only thing that's going good for them is that they have a nice personality and they care about their friends. And normally all of their skill sets, all their stats are, like, 0 in every other category. I like that Uta can do things. I like that Uta is good at doing hair. Uta's good at singing. She also has faults, obviously. We saw that she kind of sucks at running the cafe, to a degree. Or at least compared to Kaito. However, she does have skills that are nice, and it's nice to see her, like, manifest those skills. Like, I just appreciate having a character that's a little more well-rounded and doesn't just suck at stuff. So I'm very appreciative of this bit. And again, we have Metadon announce that her standard for this season is going to be the rival of the other girls, as well as that she has accepted that she will live at Uta's house because that's where Putun lives. And for the most part, I think it will establish Metadon as well as I thought it was going to go. Metadon, at first I was like, maybe they might do something different, because she looked like she was going to be a little sassy tsundere character. I was like, maybe they'll do something different. They did not. She's a sassy tsundere character through and through. That is the personality archetype that they hit her with. That's exactly what she looked like she was going to be. I get the sense that, A, Precure has not had, like, long-running kind of feisty characters in a while, so I assume her character development will come. I'm hoping it will be similar to Nyami, where it happens gradually over the course of several episodes, but again, that's what it feels like it's going to be. I don't think she's going to be irritatingly tsundere forever, but I think they might hold on to that bit for a while. Like, I don't think that will completely go away, because it's such a big character trait, but I definitely see her being nicer to the girls sooner than later. I also wonder if she's going to get attached to any of the girls specifically. Like, there's been a lot of art where she kind of gets grouped with Kyun, so I don't know if she's going to get closer to Kyun specifically, in the same way that they did a lot of Homode and Harry back for Hagato, and those two did end up indeed getting grouped together. I wonder if it's going to be something along those lines, or if she's just going to equally kind of be kind of feisty with everybody, and then just have her different relationship with Putun. Who knows? We'll see where her character goes. Overall, I think she's going to be a fun little spice to the season. I think she adds something to the group that we haven't had. Like, Kyun can be a little sassy sometimes. She can be a little sassy britches. But we don't really have anything at, like, Metadon level. So I feel like now the group being, like, a decent balance between characters who are going to say what needs to be said and characters who are nice is really filling out. And I think that's going to keep the season interesting, and I'm going to think it's going to keep the character dynamics fun, as, like, it did in the last season. I think having one sassy character last season to balance out just how everybody else was just really friendly and nice was great. I think that will, again, function pretty well for this season, and we'll see how it goes. And then we end on this really cute kind of, like, the pastel-y, painterly ending card that we have. And overall, it was a solid episode. I did not expect 12 to have, like, be a little bit more than 11 was. I didn't expect them to, like, care more. But it really fostered a decent episode. I had fun. I'm excited to see more Metadon. And I'll let you know if I end up caving and buying that plushie. But until next time, bye-bye!